Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you're joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. It's been a while since I've gone spicy because, you know, your boy got stuff to do. And thank you to everybody who has watched me on LG channels on the Fantasy Life platform. To everybody that catches the Tuesday and the Thursday show or checks out the Sunday live show. For anybody that listens to me on Sirius XM Fantasy Radio and NFL Radio on Sunday mornings from 7 to 9, with my good boy Adam Ronis. For everybody who reads columns or reads any of my content that I do on Fantasy Life, on the New York Giants on SI, for everybody that hangs out at a Giant issue and listens or watches that, I appreciate it all. For my small yet loyal community of people who follow me, to the ones who don't follow me because they're loyal but they're just haters, I just want to say, hey, I appreciate you. But I've been watching this Lane Kiffin thing kind of unfold, and it's kind of bothered me because people are acting obtuse as if they don't understand how something like this can happen. This is a monster of college football's own doing. I know that Lane Kiffin is he's a convenient villain, because there's a lot of stuff to not like about Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin can be arrogant. Lane Kiffin can be an irritant. He can be a troll, right? Like, all of those things can be true. But the one thing we can't say is he's a bad football coach. And at the end of the day, if you've heard anything that I've said about sports, I've said I don't really care about all of the other stuff outside of the arena or off the playing field. I just want to know if you can do the job. Clearly, Lane Kiffin can do the job, and that is why we're at this point. But let's not act as if Lane Kiffin is the only villain here. So I want to start back. I want to rewind, right? I want to rewind a little bit to put a little more perspective on where this is. And I know this is going to be unpopular because this is me defending Lane Kiffin. I'm not even going to try to act ambiguous about it. I'm defending Lane Kiffin, and I'm looking at Ole Miss a type of way. So if that's not what you're on,
this is probably not going to be for you. But I am 1,000% blaming Ole Miss for this. I don't have to blame Lane Kiffin. You guys are going to do that enough. But Ole Miss is going to take some strays here. So if you don't want to hear Ole Miss take some strays, it's probably not here for you. We'll start here, right? When Lane Kiffin took over at Ole Miss, where did he come from? Right? Where did he come from? He came from Florida Atlantic. So how does Lane Kiffin get from Florida Atlantic to Ole Miss? Well, I'm glad you asked. In December of 2019, right? FAU's record in 2019 was in Lane Kiffin's last season. And in that year, FAU was 11-3 overall. They were 11-3 overall, number one in the conference. They were the best or one of the best group of 5 teams in the nation. And Ole Miss came calling. Ole Miss made it their point to aggressively pursue Lane Kiffin while he still had another job at FAU. And you know why Ole Miss did it? Is because in their mind they went, Ole Miss is a better program than FAU is. Nobody will come out and just say, hey, they went and poached Lane Kiffin from FAU, but that's what they did. They snatched him. Hey, we want what you have. We're a better program. We have more money. We have more prestige. We can give him closer to what he wants. You can't. We're taking him. And everybody applauded the move. All of the hottie toddies were all applauding as they stole Lane Kiffin away, as they took away the head coach that brought Florida Atlantic to prominence. Florida Atlantic had never seen days like they saw underneath Lane Kiffin. And they haven't seen those days since. They haven't seen the days like they saw under Lane Kiffin. And now all of a sudden, we fast forward to today, and that same Ole Miss team can't understand why another team who is more prestigious, has more resources, and can get Lane Kiffin closer to his ultimate goal, why they would look at Ole Miss and go, we're better than you. We have more resources than you. We can get him closer to where he wants to go. We're taking him. That's what LSU did to Ole Miss. LSU did to Ole Miss what Ole Miss did to Florida Atlantic. The reason why people don't like it is because in their twisted brains, they're probably thinking that Ole Miss and LSU are on the same level. Let me let you in on a secret. They're not. I don't care how much you like putting on sundresses and your seersucker suits and getting dressed up. They're not the same. LSU's prestige, LSU's cachet, LSU's everything is more than what Ole Miss is. And why is that? It didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to be that way, Ole Miss. Why is it like that, Ole Miss? It's because when everybody, LSU included, when everybody that was a predominantly white institution, when they were all excluding black players from playing for their teams, excluding black students from attending their colleges, as the walls started to fall on racism, the last pillar of racism when it came to college football and to players or to students, black students going to a university in history, that's Ole Miss. Now, whether there was another school somewhere that didn't allow minorities to come and play or minorities to be educated there may be. But the last big one to fight, the one that everyone knows, is Ole Miss. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is your legacy. It doesn't define you now, possibly, but it is why when others started to ascend, when Alabama said, hey, we got to do something different, Bear Bryant realized, hey, I ain't going to get it done. Let me go get those boys. We got to do something different. Ole Miss held tight to the rope. And when they finally allowed, they were already behind the 8 ball. And the stigma has never left them. Why? Because at every point where black people have said, hey, yo, Ole Miss, this looks questionable, Ole Miss goes, that's our heritage. We're not getting rid of it. They have to be forced into changing. They have to be forced into adhering to new times. LSU, even back when it was predominantly or all white, back before, they were better than Ole Miss was. When they started allowing minorities to come, they were better than Ole Miss was. Would someone say that they just care more? Maybe. But at the end of the day, whatever it is, you can't look at Ole Miss and LSU and put them on the same plane just because they play in the same conference. That's foolhardy. That's foolhardy. That's willfully obtuse. Ultimately, Ole Miss fell victim to the very thing that Ole Miss did to another university. All's fair. All's fair. Now, Lane Kiffin made the decision or started courting these opportunities at these universities or started considering these opportunities at these universities that came to him because he looked at them and went, they can do something that possibly Ole Miss is never going to be able to allow me to do. And I'm sure Ole Miss got wind of it because all the reporting was, hey, Ole Miss is giving Lane Kiffin an ultimatum. Make the decision by the Egg Bowl. Why? You know, if you didn't make Lane Kiffin make a decision to the Egg Bowl, he probably could have quietly done something behind the scenes to become LSU's coach and then possibly, finish out the job. But that's not what happened. And then, when the decision was made to go to LSU, Lane Kiffin has explicitly said he wanted to finish the job. Why are we all of a sudden acting like we've never seen a coach move on from a program and finish the job at that program while also taking on the other program? I've seen scenarios in my lifetime, not even too long ago, where they split the staff and one staff went to start up the new joint while the other staff finished the job at the old joint. And then everybody went, not just a couple, everybody went to the new joint. That was celebrated. Why is it villainized now? Oh, because Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is supposed to be like a contender. I watched this be done with teams that were good, who had a chance to be champions, that were going to bowl games, meaningful bowl games, only to then flip over and go to another program. They already had it in place. They already had it. We've seen this happen. And if you're wondering, oh, well, we can't blame the scheduling for this. Why can't we blame the scheduling for this? Why can't the scheduling be blamed? Why is it that it is incumbent upon a coach to make a decision about next year at the end of the year, like before it's over with? Because the recruiting cycle happens in a place that doesn't make any sense. That's why. If the recruiting cycle happened when it's supposed to happen, then you don't have to make these decisions early because you have time after the season's over with. But because the recruiting cycle happens where it happens, this is what it is. Now, it's Ole Miss's priority, is their prerogative to say, no, Lane Kiffin, we don't want you to finish out. Okay, cool. That's the decision that they made. So stop saying Lane Kiffin abandoned the team. He did not abandon the team. Stop saying that Lane Kiffin checked out midway through the year. They haven't lost a game. They haven't lost a game in this stretch. Stop saying that Lane Kiffin abandoned the kids. They're not kids. They're adults who are being paid to play football. This is a new climate. We're not going to keep the old rules in place just because you guys don't like Lane Kiffin. That is corny. It's cornball stuff. Lane Kiffin did what every single one of you would have done if you had the opportunity to be Lane Kiffin, but you're not Lane Kiffin. Most of us are not Lane Kiffin in the field that we work in. But I can guarantee you this. I work as a high school football coach. If I'm at school A and my desire is to win a championship, and I don't feel if school A can get me to the championship, and then another school in the same region that I'm in that has an opportunity and resources in place to win a state championship, if they came and offered me that opportunity without any increase in money, without any increase in resources, without any increase, I'm taking it because my goal is to win a championship. Well, he's leaving a team that has a chance to win a championship. Yeah, they do. Yeah, he is. But there's no guarantee of that. You know what I know? 3 of the last 4 head coaches at LSU have won a championship. That's what I know. That's all that matters. 3 of the last 4 head coaches at LSU have won a championship. LSU is a recruiting cycle away from being back in a national championship game. That's how close LSU is always away from the championship. This is the greatest season in Ole Miss's history. Whenever you get the greatest in the history of, what is the chance of you being able to duplicate that again? How do you know that you're going to have the opportunity to do that one more time? You don't. We don't know from one year to another with some programs if they're going to be able to compete, but we know every year LSU's got a chance. So now he gets an opportunity to go to a school where he has a chance every single year to win a championship, and not by having to go out into the transfer portal and getting mercenaries every year, but he can also go out and get the best of high school recruits. Guess who couldn't do that? Ole Miss. You want proof? The one time that Ole Miss was able to go out and get the best of high school recruits, very shortly after that, they came under scandal because people realized they probably paid for all of those high school recruits at a time where every university couldn't pay. But if Ole Miss can pay, and if LSU can pay, and I'm a 5-star, I'm not going to Ole Miss. if Ole Miss can pay and LSU can pay less than Ole Miss, I might still choose LSU over Ole Miss. We got to keep a spade here. If he wanted to coach the team, if the team wanted to be coached by him, hey, by the way, if the team said that they wanted to be coached by Kiffin, then that means that they knew that there was a chance that he might leave. So now we're not even talking about him leaving in the middle of the night under cover of the darkness. This dude is working in plain view of everyone, and y'all are still out here trying to call him a villain. Still out here saying that he's the worst human being in the world. Call that athletic director the worst human being in the world. He's the one who kept the team's head coach away from him just because some alumni were going to be upset about it. Because they whined, because they cried, because all of the stuff that people say about Lane Kiffin is what Ole Miss did when it came to this situation. You know what you're supposed to do when someone gives you the best 6 years of your life, but just realizes, hey, I'm not your forever guy? You're supposed to say thank you. You're supposed to say thank you. Lane Kiffin looked up and said, I love you, but you're not my forever girl. So I'm going to move on. I'm not going to hold you hostage from finding the love of your life, the one who loves you the way that you love me. I'm not going to hold you from that. I'm going to move out the way, but I appreciate everything that we've done together. And you know what? And you know what that you want to know what that lover did, that person did? They went, oh no, you're never going to see your kids. Ole Miss is out here acting like the baby mama that broke up with the dude that didn't want to break up with the dude. So now they're going to make everything feel like it's the dude's fault. Oh, you don't see the kids. Well, you don't let me see the kids. Oh, Lane Kiffin didn't talk to the kids before he left. Well, the AD didn't want Lane Kiffin in the room. Oh, you're trying to turn everybody against me. No, in fact, you're the one trying to turn everyone against me. Oh, Lane Kiffin's trying to take all of his coaches with him. Lane Kiffin, hey, I don't have any say over what these guys do. They have their own minds. I've extended an offer. Then you find out, oh, they can't go anyway because they have different contracts than Lane Kiffin has, which means that Ole Miss can block them from going if they wanted to. So you can't say, hey, he's a deadbeat dad. He never wanted to see the kids. In reality, you're never allowing him to see the kids. You can't say, oh, he just ran out on everybody when you said, hey, get out. He tried to keep it amicable. He showed love on the way out the door. But ultimately, my friend, I'm leaving because I want to know if that's my forever girl over there. And I want you to find your forever guy. But they didn't go to find the forever guy. You know what they did? They went and hired the guy that they thought might make Lane Kiffin jealous. They went and hired a defensive coordinator who's never been a head coach, and yet you want to try to convince us you're on the same level as LSU? LSU would never. And when they did, when they went the assistant coach route, they corrected that mistake super quick. When they went and hired Ed Orgeron as the head coach, they realized almost immediately they had made a mistake. And it wasn't long after that Ed Orgeron was no longer the head coach of that program. Hey, man, we appreciate you, but we got to go find our forever. We deserve better than this. Ole Miss had an opportunity to hit the reset button and go out and try to steal, like they did Lane Kiffin, any of the best coaches in the country from all of these different places. Instead, they went and hired Lane Kiffin's defensive coordinator as if it was going to make Lane Kiffin mad, like Lane Kiffin was attached to the defensive coordinator. No, Lane Kiffin's an offensive guy. He got his offensive staff with him. Guess what he'll do at LSU with the deepest pockets in America? Hire a defensive staff. This idea that Lane Kiffin is somehow a bad person because he walked out is convenient to try to make one person culpable for a systemic problem that starts with how everything is done in recruiting. That's a sham, because now this is just like paid labor. And instead of saying the system is screwed up, we as individuals always want to go and find one person to blame. We do it in the NFL. We do it in the NBA. We do it in college. Instead of going after the entity, we go after the individual. And every time we do it, I sit back and go, this is some cornball shit. Shout out to Zach McKinney, who said it earlier while I was ranting, and I'll put it up here. He says, we've seen NDSU win like 2 national titles with a coach who was already recruiting for their new job. And yet, everybody was good with it. We're about to watch Tulane and their head coach, who I don't even think is that great, finish up the job with Tulane that could end up with them in the playoffs, and the University of Florida, which is a more prestigious program than Ole Miss, is willing to wait on him. LSU, you don't think would have waited? Of course they would have. They're willing to wait. And yet, Ole Miss couldn't be bothered to. Because why? Because you're Ole Miss. You're never going to have this again. I can't guarantee it, because you never know. I can almost predict, like Cleo the Psychic, that Ole Miss will never have the sustained success over 6 years like they had with Lane Kiffin. Sorry, Ole Miss. I don't feel bad for you because you're Ole Miss, but I don't feel bad. But you played yourself. And everybody trying to say, oh, well, this dude outwitted Lane Kiffin. No, they didn't. They didn't outwit Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is exactly where he wants to be with who he wants to be there with. You think you outwitted him because you hired the defensive coordinator that's only been his defensive coordinator for a couple of years? You think that's why you outwitted him? It's a defensive coordinator. A Lane Kiffin coach team, they're not winning because of defense. They're winning because they're putting up points. Let's see if you keep the quarterback after this year. Let's see how many of those Ole Miss players stay at Ole Miss and don't go to LSU. Let's see how you start recruiting once Lane Kiffin is no longer there. Let's see who you replace him with and his offensive staff with on your offensive staff to keep that thing going. People out here saying they made Hove say, okay, so make another Hove. Ole Miss, if it doesn't matter to you that Lane Kiffin is gone because good riddance and you're a snake in the grass, and we made you, we gave you everything, we allowed you to be this, make another Lane Kiffin. Make another one. It's that simple, right? Make another Lane Kiffin. Let me tell you what you didn't do. You didn't make another Lane Kiffin by hiring a defensive coordinator with no head coach experience. Sorry. It's just not going to work. I don't care what happens this year. You could win a national championship this year. Guess what? That's still Lane Kiffin's national championship. You're not going to want to admit it. It's cool. But that's still Lane Kiffin's national championship. It's his coaching staff. It's his players. If you win it without him there, it's still his national championship. If you don't win it, people are always going to say, what if Lane Kiffin would have been there? It's a win-win for Lane Kiffin, and somehow you guys think you got the best of him. All of the mouth breathers out there telling, like taking their side, telling you how bad Lane Kiffin is, they would turn their back on their job in a heartbeat if they were offered the type of deal Lane Kiffin was offered at LSU. They would leave tomorrow. They probably wouldn't say goodbye. They just jump on a plane and go. Willfully obtuse and kind of disrespectful, like you're playing in our face to act as if you wouldn't just be gone the same way that Lane Kiffin left. And I could see on Lane Kiffin's face, this was not easy. I've taken a lot of psychology and sociology classes. I'm good at body language. That was not someone that was comfortable with the decision. But you want to know where people do their best work? When they're uncomfortable. So watch out, SEC. Lane Kiffin, LSU? Come on now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.